What just happened?
What just happened?
What just happened?
What just happened?
That just happened.
What just happened? I'm Dan. That's Jules. And that's Vex over there. And her channel is linked below. She's our guest for True Detective Night Country. Real quick before we start, we're doing a giveaway. Once we hit 3,000 subscribers, we're going to Venmo someone $50. We're very close, so just subscribe and you might have a chance to win. I love this episode. Someone over there, but you can tell by her back screen, did not love this episode. I think it was the best one we've had so far, but we'll get into it. We'll break it all down.
It is.
It is the best one so far.
It is.
I really like the ending, and I like how they set up for the finale. I thought it was by far the best episode. So we're going to talk about that all, starting with the opening scene. Jules is being incinerated. We see that it's 12/31, the 14th day of night, which I may be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's the last day of night. I'm pretty sure in this part of Alaska, it lasts for 2 weeks.
Is anybody else super uncomfortable when they handed her the urn and they're like, be careful, it's hot?
Be careful, it's hot.
Is this like a sizzling plate at Chi-Chi's? Like, I don't...
But yeah,
So-
that's why I immediately sent our chat, and I'm just our chat was like, we're just skipping 6 days like that. Okay, bro, cool.
I
All right.
think the main reason they did that is because they wanted this series to take place between the 2 weeks of darkness, right? So you have
Yeah.
to get to the end of the 2 weeks of darkness for the finale. So they just did the little time jump, and we're going to just assume nothing happened, like nothing was happening in the 2 previous episodes specifically. So I was cool with it, and things got moving this episode, so that's why I liked it. But yeah, as Jules said, their urn was given to Navarro, and then Danvers goes to see Otis. She asks about Clark. She asked how he survived his injuries, and he's like, well, it's been 30 years. You really think I survived my injuries? She asked about Clark again, and he was like, he's a weird guy. He said she's awake multiple times.
Said that a bunch of times. He said, I have to hide. She's out there. Creepy motherfucker.
And then he was talking about the day he got his injuries and they were in the cave. He heard screaming, howling, and then all of a sudden woke up in the hospital with the injuries. So he doesn't really know how he got them. The burst eardrum, the burnt eyeballs. It just kind of happened. It was like a blackout moment and it happened. So he really wasn't no help with that, but he's going to be help with locating how to get into the cave later. That's what she wants. Danvers wants him to take them to the cave entrance. He wants heroin. And apparently it was heroin, not meth like we thought it was last week. It was heroin that he was using. She goes, hell no, I'm not going to get you heroin.
You can help me get well.
I can't get you heroin. You know that.
For now. That's what she says for now. And then we see Kayla and Pete. They're still having their little tiff. She wants him out, at least for the night. Tells him not to come home.
No, hold, Kaylee,
Please,
you can't.
just go.
Hey, Pete, you need a place to stay. And I really feel bad for Pete because he's in the middle of a murder investigation. He's a busy guy right now. Give him
Yeah.
some slack. Why are you so mad at him?
Yeah, and this is like again one of the issues that it leads into this episode because we've just been getting really barely there drops about this relationship between Kayla and Pete. We know that there's some tension there, but Pete seems to try to be there as much as he can. And like on top of that, given how small Ennis is, it's not a very large police force either. So for 7 people to die and all their bodies get discovered, there's not a lot of manpower to deal with that. Kayla seems like a bitch, man. This guy comes home when he can. He's attentive to the kid and everything. Maybe he could ignore Danvers a little bit more, especially on Christmas, but it's not like he's treating her like shit or anything like that.
Right.
He's trying to build his career and it makes sense.
I mean, I see where she's coming from, but
Well,
it seems like she's not
explained.
even attempting to be understanding.
Mhm.
Just like
So-
in this current moment, it's like there's a murder plus a cold case that's going on that they're
Right.
trying to solve. So give the guy a break. Come on. I
A
feel
cold
bad.
case for someone that she was close with as well.
Right,
at one
right.
point.
Right.
So then Danvers and Navarro, they're in the car. They're talking about how the cave is on Silver Sky property. Of course, Silver Sky is the owner of the mines. That's the whole mine facility. And they're having a conversation about the protests. And the protests are happening because the water is poisoning people.
They're not crazy. It's the fucking water.
I know.
It's poisoning.
All right, I know.
In that conversation, Navarro asked like, "Oh, well, how's Leah doing?" Right? Knows about the whole, background and all that stuff. And she's like, "Oh, she's got a girlfriend." And then Navarro says, "Had lots of those." And a lot of people were speculating that, oh, one of the big reasons why Danvers and Navarro had tension was because they had a romantic relationship. But
Yeah.
Danvers she doesn't even acknowledge it. So it had nothing to do with Danvers whatsoever. So that completely eliminates that fan theory.
Yeah, that theory is shut down for that. Yeah, you're right. Then Leah and her girlfriend are getting ready for another protest. We find out later that her girlfriend is not a ride or die, and we'll get to that in a minute. Navarro and Danvers go to the cave entrance, but it's been blown shut.
It looks like somebody blew the entryway shut. Because of course they fucking did. Fuck! Hey! Fuck this shit!
We find out specifically that Silver Sky is in on whatever happened to Annie K. That is confirmed in this episode. Pete is outside of Hank's house as he is singing, and I wonder if that was really him singing. Really good voice. Really good voice.
There is no God.
Standing outside of his house on the phone, and he asks if he can stay with him. It's a really nice moment, but we see what happens later with those two. So their relationship was always really up and down. But back to the protest. So Navarro sees a vision of Annie K, and then she kind of vanishes. And then she sees Leah getting her ass beat. Leah's girlfriend runs off. She's like, oh, good luck. I'm out.
I got you into this, but I'm not gonna stick around.
Doesn't help. Navarro jumps in. She fights off the other cop for her. And we find out later that cop got suspended for hitting Leah.
Good though.
Navarro's in the car with Leah, and she finds out that Danvers wants her to get taken into custody.
She wants me to take you in.
So we get that scene, and then we get another bit of a Tuttle United reference.
I followed their tax returns, and they trace back to Tuttle United. You remember them? Which is a founding partner of
Silver Sky Mining.
The founding partner of Silver Sky Mining, which we knew that before, but the mine bankrolls Salal, and Salal pushes fake pollution numbers for them. So this is information that Pete just found.
The mine bankrolls Salal, and then Salal pushes out bogus pollution numbers for him.
And then Pete talks to Leah in her cell, who is pissed at her girlfriend for bailing, and I don't blame her. Like, what the hell?
Yeah, rightfully so.
She just totally bounced. And then she gives advice how to win Kayla over again, and it's a little nice moment. I like the bond that Leah and Pete have, at least.
She just misses that guy, Pryor. Don't let Liz ruin that guy, okay?
I think this is one of the stronger scenes of the entire season, in all honesty. I liked that these two were relating because it also just shows how small and close-knit this town is.
Yeah.
Which is why also a problem that Danvers is just going around sleeping with everyone.
And then Danvers and Navarro have a conversation. Here's what they say.
Where are you going? Going to meet Kate McKittrick and Connelly about the protests. What? Why? It's a trooper's job. Exactly.
Connelly's like, I need you there, and I'm going to be there. And she's like, why the hell are you going to be there? Okay, so Connelly is there. He's my suspect. I think he killed Annie K or had something to do with killing Annie K. Why do you have him in so many scenes? Why is he always around, snooping around?
I can see that.
He's trying to bury the case.
What better way to almost guarantee that you're not going to get caught than to start sleeping with the chief so that you know exactly what they know and you can like misdirect if you need to.
So he's my suspect. Only one episode left, so that's what I'm going with. I'm going with that Connelly did it or had something to do with it. Because when Kate is questioning about why they went to the mine entrance, since it's their property.
Why are you and Trooper Navarro in a remote section of Silver Sky Land? It's just a question, Liz.
It's police business. Has to do with the Salal investigation.
And then she's like, well, this isn't even a murder case. And then they show that it was an avalanche that did it. And that's what killed them. And it was just an accident. Then she brings up how they fund Salal. She's like, well, why are you funding Salal? She's like, oh, we like to help out in the community. And she's like, no, that's bullshit. You fund Salal so that they can put fake numbers out for people to believe that you're doing the right thing. And then Danvers says to Connelly,
the two cases are linked.
But then he pulls out his trump card.
William Wheeler. It was a murder-suicide, except there was no suicide, was there?
He knows that either she or Navarro killed Wheeler. We still don't know which one did it. I mean, do you guys have a guess on which one did it? I would guess Navarro did it.
No, this is clearly planned that we learned. So I think, Navarro's probably the one that pulled the trigger, but...
Yeah.
I just feel like the way she reacted to it when Danvers told her that they know.
Yeah.
Just kind of felt like she was like, oh, my God, I'm screwed.
Yeah, shit.
I'm just confused on how... If he's the one who killed Annie K, how does that relate to all of the other shit that's been going on? How does that relate to the dead scientists?
That's something I still don't know about.
So, do you think that the cases are not linked?
I think they're linked, but maybe not necessarily the same killer. I don't know. Maybe
I don't think Ted was involved at all. Just because
I do think he's involved in covering it up.
Definitely.
Yeah, I think at the very
100%.
least, or he might be knowledgeable of something going down related to Annie K. But it's just because he's proven to be pretty spineless. He's openly cheating on his wife and shit like that, sleeping with Danvers. And there's multiple instances throughout the last couple episodes. Oh, he wants to run for not mayor, but like governor or something like that.
Yeah.
Like he's running for office. So he's willing to play whatever game he needs to look good in the eyes of the public kind of deal, right? So I feel like because he knows that there's bigger powers at play that will influence whether he gets that position, he's just kind of playing the game, but he didn't really have a direct hand with it.
Yeah.
That's just my 2 cents, like given everything else.
You know, he said there was no suicide in the murder-suicide case at the Wheelers, and he's using it as leverage to try and close this case and get Danvers to stop looking into the mine because Kate really doesn't want her to go into that mine. So they're working together.
He has to be working with Silver Sky.
Yeah, for sure.
So like I feel like that's the only way you'd be able to link if he was Annie K's killer. That's the only way you could link that to the other deaths.
It seems like it was a group of people that did this.
So the next scene, Hank meets up with Kate, and this is when clear as day at this point that Kate has involvement in it and she's hiding something because she says Danvers isn't going to let this go. She can't find that cave. She's worried about Otis, and she's implying that she wants Hank to kill Otis. She won't actually say it. She even makes Hank say, "Hey, I didn't say that."
I need to hear you say it.
You didn't ask me to kill anyone.
Otis Heiss is a drug addict. Drug addicts get lost. I don't need to know the details.
And he's like, I'm not a killer.
I'm not a killer.
What is she hiding? We'll find out next week. And Ted Connelly, he's in on it. We know that for a fact. And they have some dirt on Hank. We find out later what that dirt is, that he moved Annie K's body. We'll get to that scene later. Then Kalvik brings the stone back with the swirl on it, brings this guy named Kenny over to talk about the swirl. And he says that they are a warning.
Well, my grandpa, he told me to walk away when I saw those. People would leave them as a warning for hunters.
What kind of warning?
Places where the ice would swallow them whole.
Navarro is obsessed about getting into the caves, but then Danvers tells her about the excuse of the freak weather event and then tells her that they know about Wheeler.
And it's a whole separate case.
He knows about Wheeler. What did he say? He knows all of it.
One of them killed him for sure, and we'll find that out, I'm sure. Maybe we'll even see the scene next week. Maybe we'll see how it went
I think
down.
so.
I hope so. And Navarro lets out Leah at this point.
Is Liz letting me go?
Fuck Liz.
Navarro and Rose are breaking ice to pour Jules' remains into the ocean. She figured that's where she'd want to be.
If you wanted to be in the ocean.
And then she hears a voice call out to her. She starts to walk out further into the sea. The ice cracks. She goes into a little vision scene again where she starts to see that desert land again. And then Rose calls to her. She snaps out of it. She sees the ice cracking, lays down, and Rose helps pull her clear of danger. So Navarro, again, slipping more and more and more as the season progresses. It's like whatever is coming after her, as she says, it went after her mother and then Jules and now her. We're seeing it make progress on to Navarro. Danvers goes to see Leah at Pete and Kayla's. She wants her to come home for New Year's Eve. Leah's just still really pissed about the whole mining situation. She brings up that there's been 9 stillborn babies lately.
Last 3 months.
Last 3 months, but she's not giving up on her yet.
You know, I haven't given up on you.
So we'll see if their relationship mends by the end of the season. So then Danvers asks Pete, who he talked to, about Wheeler because she knows that Hank knew, and that's how Connelly found out. She's like, bring your computer in here.
What's the password to your computer? Is your birthday?
No.
Oh, let me guess. It's Darwin's.
Rookie move, man.
Your dad's not that dumb. He might look dumb, but he's not dumb. So obviously your dad went through your computer. He found files. That's how he told Connelly. So this is on you, Pete. You got to be smarter than that. They talk about Wheeler. He asks if she knew Wheeler was left-handed because the shot to his head was from a right hand, and it just doesn't add up that a lefty would shoot himself with the right hand.
Yeah.
So again, that doesn't make the case look good to cover it up as a murder-suicide.
And they also show that all the photos of the girlfriend that had been experiencing abuse, they'd all been doctored to be flipped the other way.
Yeah,
and
they've been
that's how I noticed. And also that Danvers and Navarro it wasn't a one-time thing like we would have thought with the call. They had gone to go see Wheeler 10 times on record.
10 times you were there.
it explains why there was so much of that rage built up that it ended with them shooting him, whichever one it was.
And like we know that Wheeler was like a piece of shit anyways, because he had domestic abuse, he had robbery, he had petty theft, all of this stuff under his belt.
Well, then Pete finally gets the courage to ask this question.
Did you and Navarro shoot William Wheeler and make it look like a suicide?
She doesn't answer, but of course we know the answer to that is yes. At this point, Danvers is like, yo, you can't trust your dad. You cannot stay with him. Go stay with me. Go stay in the shack behind my house. You don't have to talk to me. We don't have to interact at all. But you cannot be near your dad right now. We cannot trust him right now. He's clearly working with Connelly. We can't trust Connelly right now because he's clearly working with Kate. So it all adds up. So Pete goes to the shack behind Danvers' place, and he goes there to set up. Danvers went to Otis. She brought heroin. She did come through with what he wanted in order to get him to help. Then she calls Navarro and says, meet at my place, says they are going to go where Annie died. So, of course, Navarro's going to be like, fuck yeah, let's do this. That's all she wants. She wants to crack the Annie K case. It's been haunting her for 6 years. So she's going to be right over. And she was cuddling with Kopic at this point, and they had a nice moment. He was like, please just come back. So
I actually really liked that.
I like that too, but that also gives me a little bit of, when stuff like that happens, sometimes the character gets killed.
Like, please just come back means she's not coming back.
Exactly.
Coming back, yeah.
You're not gonna stop me?
Just come back, okay? Come back.
I like that she doesn't just push Kavik away, because she's been pushing him away this entire season. So
Yeah.
I really liked that scene.
Just that line makes me think that she might not make it through the end of the season.
Yeah.
So then they're back at Danvers' place. Otis keeps asking for the drugs, and she's like, oh, not yet. Point to the highest point of the cave for us to get in. He points to it. Luckily, he does that then he goes into the bathroom to get high. Hank shows up. I will say, from this moment on, when Hank shows up, this is peak season 4. This, I loved it. I don't know if you guys did. I thought the intensity was high, the stakes were high. You felt this scene, and I was like, the first time I actually felt stakes, and I felt really interested in what I was watching. I thought it was great. Hank shows up saying,
Otis Heiss, I'm supposed to take him in.
What for?
Something about an outstanding warrant, he skip bail and no attack or some shit.
he's acting really shady, really suspicious. He's trying to get him killed, obviously. Hank gets hostile with Danvers. And then he pulls a gun on Otis once Otis starts to walk away. And then he shoots Otis.
He doesn't want to see you do anything fucked up, okay?
Hey!
And then he shoots him in the head, kills Otis.
Jesus Christ.
And then Pete walks in, pulls the gun on Hank. He's like, what the hell's going on here?
You should know something. I didn't kill Annie K. I just moved her body.
And then right after he says that, Pete kills his own dad, kills Hank, shoots him right in the head. What the fuck? That was nuts. Yeah. I love that scene.
Blood is blood, Peter. Remember that.
No! I will say, I agree with you. I think this scene was pretty good. It was definitely one of the better, if not the best scene in this entire season, really.
I would say so.
But
yeah.
But I felt it was really predictable. As soon as he showed up at Danvers' house, I already knew what was going to happen.
We all knew that something was going to happen to these prior boys, because again, it's just been like, it's not even subtly dropping.
Yeah.
That like something's going to happen to these characters, right? Even just like him talking with Kate earlier, and it's like, oh, we gave you a lot of money, you got to do this if you want to become police chief, kind of deal, right? I even said a couple episodes ago, like, he's probably going to die or something by the end, because they're setting it up that he's going to have no one by the end. And looking at it now, he doesn't have anyone right now, right?
Yeah.
His wife kicked him out. He just shot his dad.
All right, so Navarro shows up. She's like, what the hell is going on? This is a shit show. There's 2 people dead. One of them's Hank. Like, what the fuck is going on? Danvers says she's going to call Connelly. Navarro's like, no, you cannot call Connelly. He's in on this. And Danvers should have known that by now. And she shouldn't even have thought to call Connelly, because of course he's in on this. He sent Hank, or at least had Kate sent Hank. Bad move. But Navarro stops her, and she comes up with a plan to cover it up. And she's like, yo, the storm's closing in. We have to go right now.
The storm will help cover our tracks. That's why we have to go right now.
So then Danvers is like, shit, I got to get cleaning then. And Pete's like, no, I got this. I'll clean it. You guys got to go. Yeah, poor Pete. He's got to clean up his own father death scene. Navarro says, clean, get the bodies to Rose, and then tell her to take the bodies to Julia. Repeat after me. You need to say it.
Say it.
Take me to Julia.
So then Navarro and Danvers head out to the caves with the exact point on the map that Otis pointed out before he was killed. So they know where to go, they know where to get in, and we're set up for the finale. That's what we got. We'll see if the finale delivers. I really did genuinely enjoy this episode, especially the last 10 minutes. We'll see how they land it. But I do have one question for you guys. Who is more likely to die, Navarro or Pete or both? What do you think?
Both.
Both?
Yeah.
Yeah, both of you say that?
First of all, you guys pointed out, it was just like, please come back to me. Very obvious. And it's like, of course, something weird is going to happen. Right? She's also, she just lost her sister, just cremated
She's like
her.
wandering out into the ocean.
Yeah,
like,
she's having more of these visions and everything. So you know something's going to happen. Pete is very much in the same scenario. Like his wife is being just a total bitch. He's gotten kicked out of the house. He just shot his dad. Now he's got to clean up his dad's body. Because there's also a lot of things with, if they do find Otis and whatnot, how can they explain the heroin? If anyone discovers the evidence is missing, how do they explain that? There's clearly people that know that Hank was supposed to follow Danvers around. Then it's like, people at the lighthouse saw that Otis left with Danvers as well. There's an entire trail that ties to them.
If I had to put my money on one, I would go with Navarro.
Yeah.
I agree. I think she's more likely to die, just strictly based off the comment that Kavek made to her. That's like, that's like writing 101. Just like when Black Widow died in Endgame, when she was like, see you in a minute.
See you in a minute.
And then, of course, she died.
Yeah.
Stuff like that happens all the time. So I'm assuming she's going to die.
Also, she had the ear bleeds the last episode.
Yeah, she did.
Right.
She did. Yeah. So that's where I'm going with that. Put your final theories below. Possibly go live 8 p.m. Sunday night Eastern time, right before the lead up of the finale. Possibly. I got to talk to these two about it. I think that'd be a lot of fun for everybody to join us for that hour leading up to when the episode drops. That'd be a lot of fun.
That would be fun.
Let us know if you want us to do that. And yeah, we'll be back for the finale. So thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you next time. Later.
Bye, guys.
So Danvers, head of police, okay? She takes this suspect for a murder investigation who's a recovering addict, 6 days now, takes him out of the rehab facility, steals from her job to get her way. Fuck this dude, fuck him if he dies from a drug overdose. At least I get what I want, first of all. So it's like the lesser of two evils that she's trying to play. But remember that she begged for Leah to come home for New Year's. And I'm just thinking, you begged your daughter, who just spent a night in jail, who's involved with some, we'll say, iffy activity with the protests and everything, and you take this nearly blind, we're going to assume kind of deranged crackhead back to your house to let him do drugs in your bathroom. Daughter could come home in any minute. Like the last 10 minutes, I was just like, man, it would really suck if her daughter actually did come home, because it kind of was alluded that, I don't hate my mom that much.
Yeah, but in her defense, which I don't like defending Danvers, but she probably knew that Leah wasn't going to come home.
Well,
you know what I mean?
But on the off chance, because her daughter does end the conversation with I haven't given up on you. So it's this is actually one of the few moments we've actually seen them act like they like each other, So that's why I'm just, you guys just had a touching moment. You sure you want to bring a heroin addict back home?
Yeah.
And let him do drugs in your bathroom when your underage daughter could come home at any minute? I had a couple things about that protest scene. So, because again, there was another fan theory that there was something in the water, and it's kind of alluded to still that there is something wrong with the water. Generally with mining, there's a lot of environmental destruction and stuff like that. But some of the other signs that were being held up at the protest were what people were chanting was, "We were here before and we'll be here after. We want clear skies, give our water back," not necessarily clean our water. So it seems like there's a bit of a misdirect almost, in which we've been shown that the water is really bad, but it looks like things are being taken from them instead. The other thing too is they keep just saying in the background, or just in this really offshoot piece of dialogue, that there's going to be a protest happening at the mine, but we don't see really any build up to it at all. And when we finally do get the protest scene, it's over in less than a minute. It's extremely short and it goes absolutely nowhere. It feels really forced that Leah happens to be the one that's pushed forward and beaten and then jailed at the end, when there were you literally saw people shoving against others, pushing up against the fence, defense and all of this stuff. So on top of that, it's still really unclear as to, because half of this town has, like, no one in this town aside from a couple native chicks have gave a shit about this protest whatsoever or what the mines are doing. So I find it also really odd that all of a sudden all of these locals are just at this protest. We've just seen whatever Leah's talking about. And again, it's not many people that are doing it. So this whole protest thing just feels really forced. It feels like such a useless subplot to explore because they're not even it's not even being introduced in a cohesive way that we know is going to influence the plot heavily. Because when it comes in later, when Pete is talking to Danvers, it's like a piece of information is just thrown in that conversation that has never been explored before about the pollution statistics with Silver Sky mining, right? Just like, oh, Salal was doing this so that they could, fudge their environment, like their pollution reports. I'm like,
Pete just found it. Pete just found that. That's what I mean.
But I'm saying that the connection she draws about the pollution reports, she goes from point A to just point M out of nowhere. It's never been a concern about what Salal was doing in the mine or the environmental thing that was linked to the protest. It's a very hasty link just to show that, oh, this is a much bigger conspiracy than we think.
They drag out the shit that doesn't matter. And then all the stuff that does matter, they just glaze over it. It's very backwards.
I would have loved to see more on that protest in episodes like 2 and 3. Like there's
I
so
think
much.
This entire episode should have been like the second episode.
Like there's
if we had started with this in the beginning, think about how much progression we could have made by now. It would have been so much more interesting.
And so I just like, it was really disappointing because this was all something that was teased in basically every promo. The protest scenes were always there and it was absolutely nothing. It meant nothing.
Well, I mean, I think the general point is to get across that Silver Sky is bad. They're evil and they're behind Annie K's death. I think that's the entire point of it.
Which I feel like they did. I feel like they got that across.
Just not in a very good way because again, because this is compared to season 1 over and over and over again, and there's the tie-ins to season 1. When you think about the bigger socio-political things that are happening in True Detective season 1, it's woven into basically everything that is happening episode by episode. Sorry, can I just, this was such a stupid convo. Sorry. Okay. Danvers has a conversation with Ted and Kate earlier that day, and she knows that this guy, if he didn't do it, at the very least he's in on something. He just kind of subtly threatened me by knowing that he knows what went down with this Wheeler guy. And her immediate thought upon murdering one of her officers and a suspect in her case is, I need to call the guy that just fucking threatened my career. First of all,
dumb move.
Like I didn't understand
my first
this.
thought was like, they can't let him find out.
Why does the thought even come into her head? That's what I'm trying to figure out when you've spent the entire episode learning that he's not trustworthy whatsoever. On top of that, it's like, you guys also planned to do, like, you guys you're not foreign to this whole thing of hiding bodies or setting up murder. So again, it's like, why would you, and why is Navarro the one that first comes to it, who wasn't in this meeting, by the way? It's just like, why would you call Ted? What are you talking?
Yeah, bad move. Where the fuck was I?
Sorry about that. Jules, doesn't his sweater look terrible?
I'm gonna change. I asked her before you came on if the sweater looks stupid.
Yeah, it looks very dumb, Dan.
Fuck. I don't have anything to...
Dan, I'm kidding.
I think it looks dumb.
We're fucking with you. It's just because you asked.
Alone. Yeah, I'm sorry Bill's such a terrible lay. You have my sympathies. Hey, sorry about the divorce.
It's not a divorce, Chief.
Whatever.